The 4th of July sun hung high over Portland's Riverside Park, beating down on the thousands of families who had claimed their spots on the sprawling green lawn hours earlier. The air smelled of grilled hot dogs, buttered popcorn, and the sweet tang of cotton candy drifting from vendor stands lined up along the main walkway. Patriotic music blared from speakers mounted on light poles, competing with the laughter of children and the animated chatter of excited festival-goers. American flags of every size fluttered in the warm breeze, and red, white, and blue decorations adorned every visible surface. 3-year-old Emma Rodriguez had never seen so many people in one place. Her brown curls bounced as she walked, one small hand gripped tightly in her mother's palm, the other clutching a half-eaten caramel apple that was more stick than apple at this point. Her pink sundress, the one with the tiny white flowers that she'd insisted on wearing that morning, already had a smudge of chocolate ice cream on the hem. Her white sandals, brand new just last week, kicked up small puffs of dust with each enthusiastic step. Sarah Rodriguez smiled down at her daughter, grateful for this perfect day. After a difficult year, the divorce, the move to a smaller apartment, the juggling of 2 jobs, she'd promised Emma something special. The 4th of July festival had been circled on their kitchen calendar for weeks, and Emma had counted down the days with the earnest intensity only a 3-year-old could muster. "Mama, look at all the balloons." Emma pointed with her sticky hand toward a vendor selling enormous character balloons that bobbed high above the crowd. "I see them, sweetie. Maybe after we—" Sarah's words died in her throat as they rounded the corner near the main stage area. That's when Emma saw him. Officer Marcus Webb stood near the community outreach booth, his crisp Portland Police Department uniform pressed and professional despite the heat. But Emma didn't notice the officer. Her entire focus locked onto the magnificent creature sitting at attention beside him. Rex was a German Shepherd in his prime, 4 years old, 75 pounds of muscle and intelligence, with a coat that gleamed black and tan in the sunlight. He wore an official K9 vest that read police in bold letters, and his dark eyes scanned the crowd with the calm, assessing gaze of a trained professional. His ears stood at perfect attention, swiveling slightly to catch every sound in the busy environment. Emma stopped walking so abruptly that Sarah nearly stumbled over her. "Mama," Emma whispered, her voice filled with pure wonder. "Mama, look at the doggy." Sarah followed her daughter's gaze and felt a mix of appreciation and nervousness. She'd always been cautious around large dogs. A childhood incident with a neighbor's aggressive Rottweiler had left her wary, and police dogs especially seemed intimidating. But she had to admit, this one was beautiful. A small crowd of children had gathered around Officer Webb, their parents standing nearby as the officer explained Rex's role in the police department. Emma pressed forward, pulling Sarah toward the barrier that had been set up to keep the public at a safe distance from the K9. "This is Rex," Officer Webb was saying, his voice warm and patient as he addressed the gathered children. "He's been my partner for 3 years. Rex is trained in search and rescue, which means he helps us find people who are lost or in trouble. His nose is about 40 times more powerful than yours or mine." "Can he smell pizza from far away?" a boy of about 6 asked eagerly. Officer Webb chuckled. "He definitely can, but we train him to use that super nose for important work. Rex has helped find missing hikers, located evidence in investigations, and even found a lost elderly man with Alzheimer's last month." Emma pushed closer to the barrier, her small hands gripping the plastic chain link. She was completely transfixed. Rex's ears twitched, and suddenly his dark eyes shifted from scanning the general crowd to looking directly at her. For a moment, just a brief crystalline moment, girl and dog locked eyes. Emma's breath caught in her chest. She'd seen dogs before, of course. Their neighbor Mrs. Patterson had a yappy little terrier that Emma found annoying. The pet store at the mall had puppies in the window, but this was different. This dog wasn't just beautiful or cute. There was something in his eyes, an intelligence, a presence, that made Emma feel like he could see right into her heart. Rex tilted his head slightly, still focused on the small girl with the brown curls and the pink dress. His tail gave one slow, deliberate wag. "Mama," Emma breathed, never breaking eye contact with Rex. "Mama, can I pet the doggy, please? I'll be so careful, I promise I'll be gentle." Sarah bit her lip, glancing between her daughter's pleading face and the imposing police dog. "Honey, I don't think. He's a working dog. Police dogs are different from regular pets. They have to stay focused on their job." As if to confirm this, Officer Webb was explaining to the other children. "I'm sorry, everyone, but Rex can't be petted while he's in his work vest. When he's wearing this, he knows he's on duty, and we need to keep him focused. But you can take pictures from where you are, and you can ask me any questions you'd like." Disappointment crashed over Emma's small face like a wave. Her bottom lip trembled slightly, but she held back tears. She was a big girl now, Mama always said. Still, she couldn't tear her eyes away from Rex. The German Shepherd, for his part, continued to watch her with what Officer Webb would later describe as unusual intensity. Rex was trained to remain neutral around crowds, to observe without engagement unless given a command. But something about this small child seemed to hold his attention. "Come on, sweetie," Sarah said gently, tugging Emma's hand. "Let's go get your face painted. Remember, you wanted to be a butterfly." "But Mama..." "Emma," Sarah's voice was firmer now, though not unkind. "The nice officer said the dog is working. We need to let him do his job. Come on, the face painting line isn't too long right now." With one last longing look at Rex, Emma allowed herself to be led away. Her steps were slower now, reluctant, and she kept turning her head to look back at the police dog until the crowd swallowed the sight of him. Sarah guided them toward the face painting booth, where a cheerful volunteer in a Stars and Stripes hat was transforming children's faces into flags, superheroes, and animals. The line had about 6 children ahead of them, which wasn't bad for such a popular attraction. "What design do you want, baby?" Sarah asked, trying to restore Emma's earlier enthusiasm. "Butterfly," Emma said quietly, but her heart wasn't in it anymore. Her mind was still on the beautiful dog with the knowing eyes. Behind them, at the K9 demonstration area, Officer Marcus Webb was wrapping up his presentation. Rex sat at perfect attention, the model of professional discipline. But Webb noticed something unusual. Every few seconds, his partner's gaze drifted toward the crowd in the direction the little girl in the pink dress had gone. "Everything okay, boy?" Webb murmured, running his hand briefly over Rex's head. Rex's tail thumped once against the ground, but his eyes remained alert, scanning. Neither the officer nor his K9 partner knew that in exactly 15 minutes, that little girl's face would be the most important thing Rex would need to remember. Neither knew that the brief connection between a 3-year-old child and a police dog would become the single thread between life and death. The festival continued around them, music playing, children laughing, families enjoying a perfect summer day. Everything was about to change. The face painting line moved slowly, each child ahead of Emma taking their time choosing designs and sitting still, while the volunteer artist worked her magic. Sarah checked her phone too, 4:47 p.m. They still had plenty of time before the evening fireworks show, the grand finale that Emma had been talking about for weeks. "Mama, I'm thirsty," Emma said, tugging on Sarah's shorts. "We'll get a drink right after your face painting, okay? We're almost to the front now, just 3 more kids." Emma nodded, but her attention kept drifting. The face painting booth was positioned near the edge of the festival grounds, close to where the manicured park lawn gradually gave way to wild grass, and beyond that, the dense tree line of the forest that bordered Riverside Park's eastern side. Emma could see butterflies, real ones, not painted ones, dancing in the wildflowers that grew in the transitional area between the festival and the woods. A monarch butterfly, its orange and black wings brilliant in the sunlight, landed on a purple coneflower about 20 feet away. Then it fluttered to another flower, slightly closer to the trees. Then another. Emma watched, mesmerized. She loved butterflies more than almost anything. Her bedroom at home was decorated with butterfly stickers. Her favorite pajamas had butterflies on them, and she had a butterfly night light that made her feel safe in the dark. The butterfly danced further away, its wings catching the light. "Next," called the face-painting volunteer cheerfully. Sarah's attention shifted completely to the transaction at hand. She stepped forward to the small folding table where a cash box sat, digging in her purse for her wallet. The volunteer's helper, a teenage girl with braces, smiled at her. "That'll be $8, and we have a laminated menu of designs right here. Just takes about 5 minutes once we start." Sarah pulled out a $10 bill, counting out the change she'd get back and mentally calculating how much she had left for food, drinks, and maybe one ride on the carousel that Emma had been eyeing earlier. Her hand slipped from Emma's. It was just for a second, maybe 2 seconds, just long enough to hand over the money and reach for the laminated design menu. Emma looked up at her mother, then back at the butterfly. It was getting further away, floating toward the forest edge. What if it disappeared? What if she never saw one that pretty again? In the way that only a 3-year-old can rationalize, Emma made a decision. She would just catch up to the butterfly real quick, get a closer look, and come right back before Mama even noticed. It was right there, so close. Emma took one step away from the line, then another. Her white sandals moved from the packed dirt of the festival area onto the softer grass. The butterfly fluttered deeper, toward a patch of wild daisies. Emma followed, her small legs moving faster, her eyes locked on those beautiful orange wings. She didn't hear her mother's voice behind her. She didn't see the concerned glance from an elderly couple sitting on a nearby bench. She had tunnel vision, a 3-year-old's complete absorption in a single magical thing. The butterfly led her past the last of the festival stragglers, past the invisible boundary where celebration ended and wilderness began. The sounds of music and laughter grew dimmer, replaced by the rustle of leaves and the chirp of birds. The butterfly landed on a low branch just inside the tree line. Emma reached out her small hand, fingers stretching. The butterfly took off again, disappearing into the dappled shadows of the forest. "Wait," Emma called out, her voice small in the vast woods. She took another step forward, and then another, the trees swallowing her like she'd never existed at all. Meanwhile, Sarah pocketed her change and turned around, the design menu in her hand. "Okay, Emma, let's see what you—" Her voice died. Emma wasn't there. "Emma," Sarah's eyes scanned the immediate area. Maybe she'd wandered just a few feet away. "Emma, honey, where are you?" The children in line looked up at her. The face-painting volunteer paused mid-brushstroke. A few parents glanced around casually, probably thinking it was just a momentary thing, that the child would pop out from behind someone in the next second. But Sarah's heart was already beginning to pound. She knew her daughter. Emma didn't wander off. She was a good girl, an obedient girl. She always stayed close. "Emma," Sarah's voice was louder now, sharp with the first edge of panic. She spun in a full circle, her eyes frantically searching every small person in the vicinity. A girl in a red dress, not Emma. A boy in a blue shirt, not Emma. 2 kids chasing each other near the bouncy castle, neither of them Emma. "Excuse me, did anyone see a little girl? 3 years old, pink sundress with white flowers, brown curly hair." Sarah's voice was getting higher, tighter. The other parents were starting to look concerned now, really looking around. "I didn't see her leave," the teenage volunteer helper said, her eyes wide. "She was right there with you just a second ago." "I know she was right there, Emma." Sarah's scream cut through the cheerful festival atmosphere like a knife. Heads turned. Conversations stopped. The face-painting volunteer stood up, her expression shifting from confusion to alarm. Sarah started pushing through the crowd, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might burst from her chest. "Emma, Emma, where are you?" People were staring now, some starting to help look, calling out for a little girl in pink. Sarah ran toward the food vendors. Maybe Emma had gone to get that drink she'd asked for. But even as she searched, a cold, terrible dread was building in her stomach. 30 seconds passed, then a minute. An older man in a volunteer security vest hurried over. "Ma'am, what's wrong?" "My daughter, she's missing. She's only 3. Sarah could barely get the words out. Her whole body was shaking. "How long?" "I don't know, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I just turned around for a second. Oh God, oh God." The security guard grabbed his radio, his casual demeanor evaporating instantly. "Code yellow, main festival grounds near face painting station. Missing child, female, approximately 3 years old, pink dress with white flowers, brown curly hair, white sandals. All personnel respond. Time is 2:49 p.m. The radio crackled with immediate responses. More security guards began converging on the area. A woman in a staff shirt started organizing nearby parents to help search in a grid pattern. Sarah's mind was spiraling. The news stories she'd seen flashed through her head: children abducted from crowded places, predators who waited for moments exactly like this, parents who turned their backs for 1 second and lost everything. "No, no, no, please no," she whispered, tears starting to stream down her face. "Emma, Emma baby, where are you?" The music suddenly cut off. An announcement crackled over the loudspeakers. "Attention all festival attendees. We are looking for a missing child." Sarah barely heard it. She was running now, pushing through crowds, looking behind vendor stalls, checking under tables, her voice hoarse from screaming her daughter's name. 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Every second felt like an hour. Every face that wasn't Emma's felt like a dagger to Sarah's heart. And deep in the woods beyond the festival grounds, a little girl in a pink sundress walked further into the shadows, completely unaware of the terror unfolding behind her, following a butterfly that had long since vanished into the endless forest. Officer Marcus Webb was demonstrating Rex's evidence detection skills to a small group of Boy Scouts when his radio erupted with static, followed by a voice tight with urgency. "All units in Riverside Park, code yellow. Missing child, female, 3 years old, pink sundress with white flowers, brown curly hair, white sandals. Last seen near face painting station at 2:47 p.m. Current time 2:52 p.m. Possible tree line breach. Repeat, possible tree line breach." Webb's blood ran cold. Tree line breach. Those 3 words changed everything. Riverside Park's eastern border was lined with over 15 square miles of dense forest, a beautiful natural area that included steep ravines, a fast-moving river, and terrain that could disorient even experienced hikers. Every year, the Portland Fire Department conducted at least a dozen rescues in those woods. Adults got turned around in there, and a 3-year-old child. Webb didn't let himself finish that thought. "Rex, come." His voice was sharp, commanding. The German Shepherd was on his feet instantly, the playful demonstration mode evaporating as he sensed his handler's urgency. The Boy Scouts scattered as Webb and Rex took off at a run toward the coordinates crackling through his radio. They covered the distance in less than 90 seconds, Rex's powerful legs eating up the ground, his K9 vest bouncing with each stride. When they arrived at the face painting area, it was chaos. At least 20 people were searching frantically, calling out a child's name. Security guards were trying to organize the crowd, and in the center of it all was a woman on her knees, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. Webb's training kicked in. He'd been a K9 officer for 8 years. Before that, 5 years in regular patrol. He'd worked missing persons cases, domestic disputes, armed robberies, but nothing, absolutely nothing, hit harder than a missing child. "Who's the parent?" he called out, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Here, I'm her mother." Sarah scrambled to her feet, stumbling toward him. Her face was blotchy and red, mascara running down her cheeks in dark rivers. "Please, please, you have to find her. Her name is Emma. Emma Rodriguez. She's only 3. She doesn't know these woods. She'll be so scared." "Ma'am, I need you to take a breath for me." Webb's voice was firm but not unkind. He'd learned that panicking parents couldn't provide the information he needed. "I'm Officer Webb, and this is Rex. We're K-9 Search and Rescue. We're going to find your daughter, but I need you to focus and answer some questions. Can you do that?" Sarah nodded frantically, trying to control her breathing. "How long has she been missing?" 8 minutes, maybe 9. I turned around for 1 second to pay," her voice broke. "Okay, that's good. That's very recent. What was Emma wearing?" "Pink sundress with white flowers, white sandals. She has brown curly hair down to her shoulders, brown eyes. She's small for her age." "Does Emma know these woods? Has she hiked here before?" "No, never. We just moved to Portland 6 months ago. She's never been in any woods like this." "Is she afraid of dogs?" Sarah's tear-filled eyes widened. No, she loves dogs. Earlier she wanted to pet." Her gaze fell on Rex, recognition flooding her features. "She wanted to pet your dog about 20 minutes ago. She was fascinated by him." Something clicked in Webb's mind. He remembered the little girl, the one in pink who'd stared at Rex with such intensity. Rex had noticed her too, which was unusual. His partner was trained to remain neutral in crowds, but that child had caught his attention. "That's good, ma'am. That's very good. Now, do you have anything with Emma's scent on it? A blanket, a toy, a piece of clothing?" Her jacket. It's in my bag." Sarah fumbled with her oversized purse, pulling out a small denim jacket covered in butterfly patches. She wore this earlier when it was cooler. Webb took the jacket immediately, kneeling down to Rex's level. This was it. This was what they'd trained for hundreds of hours to do. Real-world search and rescue, with a real child's life on the line. "Rex." The dog's dark eyes locked onto his handler, every muscle in his body tense and ready. Webb held the jacket to Rex's nose, letting him sniff deeply. "This is it, buddy. This is the real deal. We've got a little girl out there who needs us." Rex sniffed the jacket intently, his nose working, his brain processing the scent molecules that humans could never detect. His tail was rigid, his ears forward. He sniffed again, committing every note of the child's scent to memory. The soap she'd bathed with, the candy she'd eaten, the unique chemical signature that made Emma Rodriguez different from every other human on the planet. "Good boy, good." Webb stood, scanning the area. Which direction was she last seen? A security guard pointed toward the eastern edge, where the manicured grass gave way to wild growth and then trees. Multiple witnesses saw kids playing in that direction around that time. Nobody specifically saw her, but it's the most likely. "Clear a path," Webb commanded. The crowd parted immediately. He turned back to Sarah. "Ma'am, I need you to stay here with these officers. Do not enter the woods. We'll bring her back to this exact spot." "But I should help. I should be looking." "The best thing you can do is stay here in case she comes back on her own. And trust us." Webb's eyes were steady, confident. "Rex is one of the best search and rescue dogs in the state. If your daughter is out there, he will find her." He didn't add the statistics he knew by heart. That the first hour was critical in child abduction cases, that small children could cover surprising distances when frightened, that the woods claimed lives every year. He didn't mention the river, or the ravines, or the fact that temperatures would drop 15 degrees once the sun went down. He just unclipped Rex's leash. "Rex," the dog looked up at him, every fiber of his being focused and ready. "Find." Rex's nose went to the ground immediately, sweeping back and forth like a biological metal detector. He moved in a wide arc, processing thousands of scent signatures, filtering out the ones that didn't match, searching for that one specific combination of molecules that belonged to a 3-year-old girl in a pink dress. Then he found it. His body language changed instantly, head up, tail straight, pulling hard toward the tree line. "He's got her scent," Webb called back to the gathered crowd. His heart was racing, but his hands were steady as he followed his partner. "All units, K9 has picked up the trail. We're heading into the woods eastern sector. I need perimeter teams to spread out along the tree line in case she doubles back." Behind him, Sarah's legs gave out. Another parent caught her, held her up. "Please," she whispered to no one and everyone, "please bring my baby back." Rex was pulling harder now, moving with purpose through the tall grass. The scent trail was fresh. He could smell where small feet had crushed the grass, where tiny hands had touched wildflowers. The trail led straight into the woods. Webb checked his watch. 2:58 p.m., 11 minutes since Emma had disappeared. They entered the tree line and the world changed. The sounds of the festival, the voices, the music, the desperate calling of Emma's name faded behind them. Here there was only birdsong, rustling leaves, and the sound of Rex's paws on the forest floor. The trail led deeper, past the first line of trees, then the second. The underbrush got thicker, branches caught at Webb's uniform, but Rex moved with certainty, nose down, tracking. 12 minutes, 13 minutes. A quarter mile in, Webb saw it. A small white sandal lying on its side next to a fallen log. His stomach tightened. Rex sniffed it, whined once, then pulled forward even more urgently. The sandal meant she'd passed this way, but it also meant she was probably moving fast, panicked, going deeper into terrain that could injure or trap a small child. "Good boy, Rex, stay on her, find her." The trail turned sharply, following what might have been a deer path. The ground began to slope downward. Webb could hear water in the distance, the river. His jaw clenched. 15 minutes, 16 minutes. And then Rex stopped. The dog's ears swiveled forward, his nose lifted, testing the air. He'd switched from trailing to air scenting, which meant they were close, very close. Rex let out a single, sharp bark and lunged forward through a thick stand of ferns. Webb pushed through behind him, branches whipping at his face. And there, sitting on the ground beside a massive fallen log, dirty and tear-streaked and terrified, was a little girl in a pink sundress. Emma had stopped crying about 5 minutes ago, not because she felt better, but because her throat hurt too much to cry anymore. Her voice was just a raspy whisper now, and no matter how many times she called Mama, nobody answered. The woods had seemed magical at first, when she was chasing the butterfly. The dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves had looked like fairy dust, and the flowers had been so pretty. But the butterfly had disappeared so quickly, vanishing into the green shadows like it had never existed at all. And when Emma had turned around to go back to Mama, everything looked the same. Trees, just trees everywhere. Big ones, small ones, trees with rough bark and trees with smooth bark. They all looked alike. Which way had she come from? Which way led back to the music and the people and Mama? Emma had picked a direction and walked. Then when that felt wrong, she turned and walked another way. Then another. Her white sandals, the pretty new ones Mama had bought her, kept slipping on the leaves and roots. One had fallen off completely when she'd climbed over a big log, and she'd been too scared to go back and get it. Now she only had one shoe. Her pink sundress, the one with the little white flowers that she loved so much, was torn at the hem. Scratches from thorny bushes marked her arms and legs, little red lines that stung. Her hands were dirty, with soil packed under her fingernails from when she'd fallen and caught herself. But worse than all of that was the fear. Emma had never felt fear like this before. Not the kind of scared she got from thunderstorms when she could cuddle with Mama under a blanket. Not the kind of nervous she felt before doctor appointments, when Mama held her hand and promised her a sticker afterward. This was different. This was a fear that made her stomach hurt and her chest feel tight and her whole body shake. She was alone. Really, truly alone in a way she'd never been in her entire 3 years of life. The sounds of the festival had faded until she couldn't hear them at all anymore. Instead, there were other sounds, strange sounds. The wind rustling through the leaves sounded like whispers. Branches creaking sounded like footsteps. Birds calling to each other sounded like warning cries. Emma had read a book about forest animals once. Well, Mama had read it to her. There were bears in forests, and wolves, and mountain lions. Were there mountain lions in Portland? She didn't know, but what if there were? What if they could smell her? What if they were watching her right now from behind the trees? She tried to be brave. She told herself that she was a big girl, that Mama would find her soon, that everything would be okay. But as she'd walked and walked, with everything looking the same and the shadows getting longer and darker, that bravery had crumbled away like sand. Finally, exhausted and terrified, Emma had spotted a big fallen log and collapsed beside it. Her remaining sandal was caked with mud. Her legs ached. She was thirsty, so thirsty, and she could hear water somewhere nearby, but Mama had always told her never to drink water that wasn't from a tap or a bottle. Emma hugged her knees to her chest, making herself as small as possible. She wanted to disappear. She wanted Mama. She wanted to be home in her bed with her butterfly night light and her stuffed animals and Mama's voice reading her a story. "Mama," she whimpered, but her voice was so quiet it barely made a sound. "Mama, please find me." The sun had moved across the sky. The light filtering through the trees was different now, more golden, more slanted. The shadows were deeper, darker, longer. Emma didn't understand time the way adults did, but she knew it had been a long time. A very, very long time. That's when she heard it. A sound, different from the wind and the birds and the creaking branches. Footsteps, something moving through the brush, coming closer. Emma's heart started pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. She pressed herself against the log, trying to make herself invisible. Maybe if she stayed very, very still, whatever it was wouldn't see her. The footsteps got louder, faster. Something was running through the forest, running toward her. Emma squeezed her eyes shut tight, her whole body trembling. In her mind, she saw all the scary animals from her storybooks. The big bad wolf with sharp teeth, the bears that growled, the monsters that lived under beds and in dark places. The sound was so close now, right on the other side of the log. She could hear breathing, heavy, panting breaths. Emma couldn't help it. She opened her eyes. And there, standing just a few feet away, was a dog. Not just any dog. The dog. The beautiful police dog from the festival, the one with the intelligent brown eyes and the shiny black and tan fur, the one she'd wanted so badly to pet. For a moment, Emma couldn't process what she was seeing. How could the police dog be here? Had he followed her? Was this real, or was she imagining it because she was so scared and wanted so badly to see something familiar? "Doggy," her voice came out as barely a whisper. Rex, though Emma didn't know his name yet, stood perfectly still, his dark eyes locked on her. He wasn't barking. He wasn't jumping around or acting scary. He just stood there, and something in his gaze made Emma's racing heart begin to slow. The dog took a step closer, then another. His movements were slow, careful, deliberate. His tail gave a small wag. Emma had been holding her breath without realizing it. She let it out in a shaky exhale. You're the doggy from before," she said, her voice getting a tiny bit stronger. "The police doggy." Rex took another step forward and then, very gently, very carefully, he sat down right in front of her. Not crowding her, not overwhelming her, just there, present, solid, real. And that's when Emma broke. All the fear, all the terror, all the loneliness of the past terrible minutes came pouring out of her. She lunged forward and threw her arms around Rex's thick neck, burying her face in his fur. He was warm and solid and real, and he smelled like dog and grass and safety. "I was so scared," Emma sobbed into his fur. "I was so scared. I couldn't find Mama. I couldn't find anyone, and it got dark and there were scary sounds and I didn't know what to do. Rex didn't move. The highly trained police dog who could chase down suspects and detect explosives and perform dozens of complex commands simply sat there and let a terrified 3-year-old girl cry into his neck. His tail wagged slowly, gently. His breathing was calm and steady, a counterpoint to her ragged sobs. After a long moment, Rex did something that his handler would later swear he'd never been trained to do. The German Shepherd carefully lowered himself to the ground, laid his head across Emma's lap, and let out a soft, comforting whine. Emma's sobs began to quiet. She stroked Rex's fur with her small, dirty hands, her fingers tangling in the soft undercoat beneath the coarser outer layer. "You found me," she whispered. "You came and found me." Rex's tail thumped against the ground once, twice. That's when Emma heard a second sound, heavier footsteps, a man's voice calling out. "Emma, Emma Rodriguez." Her head snapped up. A police officer was pushing through the ferns and branches, his uniform the same as the one the nice man at the festival had been wearing. His face was flushed from running, and when his eyes landed on her and Rex, his expression shifted from intensity to pure relief. "Emma, honey, are you hurt?" Officer Webb dropped to one knee, quickly assessing her for injuries even as he spoke. "Can you tell me if anything hurts badly?" Emma shook her head, not letting go of Rex. I got lost. I was following a butterfly and then I couldn't find Mama and I was so scared, but then he found me." She looked down at Rex with wonder and gratitude that seemed far too deep for such a small child. "The doggy found me." Webb felt his throat tighten with emotion. He'd done hundreds of training scenarios, dozens of real searches, but this moment, this little girl alive and safe because of his partner, would stay with him forever. "He sure did, sweetheart. And you know what? Your mama is waiting for you right now. She's been very worried and she's going to be so happy to see you. Do you think you can come with us to see her?" Emma nodded, but her arms remained firmly wrapped around Rex's neck. "Can the doggy come too?" Webb smiled, blinking back the moisture in his eyes. "The doggy's coming too, I promise. His name is Rex and he's not going anywhere without you." Officer Marcus Webb had been trained to handle emergencies with professional detachment, keep emotions in check, stay focused on the mission, complete the objective. But kneeling there in the dappled forest shadows, watching a traumatized 3-year-old girl cling to his K-9 partner like Rex was the only solid thing left in her world. Webb felt that professional detachment crumbling. "Emma, I need to check you over real quick, okay?" Webb kept his voice soft, non-threatening. "Just to make sure you don't have any bad scratches or bumps. Your mama's going to ask me and I want to tell her you're okay. Can you help me with that?" Emma nodded, but her small hands remained buried in Rex's fur, her fingers gripping tight. She wasn't ready to let go. Not yet. Not when this dog was the only thing standing between her and the terrible fear that had consumed her minutes before. Webb understood. He'd seen it before with trauma victims, that desperate need to hold on to whatever made them feel safe. He just worked around it, gently examining the scratches on her arms and legs. They were superficial, just surface wounds from thorns and branches. Her remaining sandal was completely ruined, caked in mud and starting to fall apart. Her pink dress was torn and dirty, and there were leaves tangled in her brown curls. But she was alive, she was whole, she was going home. "You're doing great, Emma," Webb said as he checked her over. "Just a few little scratches, nothing serious. You're one tough kid, you know that." "I tried to be brave," Emma whispered, her voice still hoarse from crying. "But I was really, really scared." "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared," Webb told her, meeting her eyes. "It means you're scared, but you keep going anyway. And you did that. You stayed in one place when you got tired, which was exactly the right thing to do. That made it easier for Rex to find you." Emma looked down at Rex, who remained perfectly still in her embrace, his warm brown eyes watching her with what Webb could only describe as protective gentleness. "He's magic," Emma said with the absolute certainty that only a 3-year-old could possess. "He knew I needed him and he came." "You know what? You might be right about that." Webb reached out and scratched behind Rex's ears, a reward, a thank you, an acknowledgement of something extraordinary. "Rex has found a lot of people, but I've never seen him quite like this with anyone." It was true. Rex's training had taught him to locate and alert, to find and indicate. But the way he was behaving with Emma went beyond training. The German Shepherd had positioned himself as a living security blanket, his body language radiating calm and protection. His tail continued its slow, steady wag, and every few seconds he would gently lick Emma's arm or hand, as if reminding her that he was there, that she was safe. Webb keyed his radio, keeping his voice low and calm so as not to startle Emma. "K97 to command. Child located and secured. Eastern sector approximately 0.4 miles from tree line entry. Minor superficial injuries only. Child is mobile and alert. Beginning transport back to festival grounds. ETA 15 minutes. The radio exploded with responses. Relief, joy, gratitude poured through the crackling speaker. And underneath it all, Webb could hear a woman's voice in the background, sobbing with happiness. Emma's mother. "All units, excellent work. Medical standing by at staging area. K97, take your time with the transport. Weather is clear, no rush. Get that little girl home safe." Webb clipped the radio back to his belt and smiled at Emma. "Did you hear that? Your mama is waiting for you, and she is so excited to see you." Emma's bottom lip trembled. "Is Mama mad at me? I wasn't supposed to leave. I just wanted to see the butterfly and then I got lost in—" Hey, no," Webb interrupted gently. "Your mama's not mad, not even a little bit. She's just happy, so happy that you're okay. That's all that matters." Emma sniffled, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "Okay. Can you walk, sweetheart, or are your legs too tired?" Emma considered this seriously, like it was the most important question she'd ever been asked. I think maybe too tired." "That's okay. I can carry you. But here's the thing, Rex needs to walk beside us to guide us back. Do you think you can let go of him for a little bit? I promise he's going to be right there the whole time. He's not going anywhere without you." Emma looked uncertain, her grip on Rex's fur tightening. The dog sensed her anxiety and lifted his head, making eye contact with her. He gave her hand a gentle lick, his tail wagging. "What if I get scared again?" Emma's voice was very small. "Then you tell me and we'll stop and take a break, and Rex will be right there." Webb held out his arms. "I promise, Emma, Rex is your friend now and friends stick together." Something in Webb's voice, the absolute certainty, the kindness, convinced her. Slowly, reluctantly, Emma loosened her grip on Rex. The dog stood up carefully, shaking leaves from his coat, then immediately moved to sit right beside Webb, his shoulder against the officer's leg, his eyes still on Emma. Webb lifted Emma into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, tiny and fragile in his embrace. She smelled like dirt and fear and little kid, and she immediately wrapped her arms around his neck with surprising strength. "I've got you," Webb said softly, "and Rex has got both of us. Let's go find your mama." He stood, adjusting Emma's weight, and gave Rex the command. "Rex, heel." The German Shepherd fell into step immediately, but not in his usual working position, slightly behind and to the left. Instead, Rex walked right beside them, close enough that Emma could reach down and touch him if she wanted to. Close enough to provide comfort, close enough to keep his promise. They began the journey back through the forest, Webb moving carefully over the uneven terrain, following the path they'd taken in. The woods that had seemed so frightening to Emma now felt different with the officer and the dog beside her. The shadows weren't scary monsters anymore. They were just shadows. The sounds were just birds and wind and normal forest things. Emma rested her head on Webb's shoulder, one hand gripping his uniform, the other reaching down to rest on Rex's head as he walked. The German shepherd's ears were up and alert, his powerful body moving with easy confidence through the underbrush. "How did he know where to find me?" Emma asked quietly, her voice muffled against Webb's shoulder. "Rex has a super powerful nose," Webb explained, stepping carefully over a fallen branch. "He can smell things we can't even imagine. We gave him your jacket to smell before we started searching, and he memorized your scent. Then he followed it all the way to you, like following a trail that only he could see." "Like a superhero," Emma said. Webb smiled. "Yeah, kiddo, exactly like a superhero." They walked in comfortable silence for a few minutes, the only sounds their footsteps, Rex's paws on the leaves, and the distant calls of birds. Emma's fingers moved gently through Rex's fur as he walked, finding comfort in the contact. "Officer," Emma's voice was sleepy now, the adrenaline wearing off, exhaustion setting in. "Yeah, Emma. Can I see Rex again, after today, when I'm not lost anymore?" Webb felt his heart squeeze. This little girl who'd been through such a terrifying ordeal was already thinking about when she could see her rescuer again. "I think that can be arranged. Rex would like that. He doesn't usually make house calls, but I think we can make an exception for a friend." "We're friends now," Emma stated with absolute certainty. "Me and Rex were best friends." Rex's tail wagged harder, as if he understood and agreed completely. "You know what, I think you're right," Webb said. They emerged from the thickest part of the forest, and ahead, Webb could see the tree line thinning, could hear the distant sounds of the festival resuming. News had spread fast. The child was found, the child was safe, and the celebration had started up again, though Webb knew there was one woman who wouldn't be celebrating until she had her daughter back in her arms. Emma lifted her head from Webb's shoulder, looking back at the woods they'd left behind. "I'm never following butterflies again," she announced solemnly. "That's probably a good rule," Webb agreed, fighting back a smile. "But I'm going to draw pictures of Rex, lots and lots of pictures. He would love that." As they reached the final stretch before the tree line, Rex moved even closer, pressing against Webb's leg, and Emma reached down with both hands now, tangling her fingers in his fur one more time before they returned to the world of crowds and noise and worried adults. "Thank you, Rex," she whispered. "Thank you for finding me." The German shepherd looked up at her, and Webb swore he saw understanding in those dark eyes. Then Rex barked once, soft and gentle, not his usual alert bark, as if to say, "You're welcome, that's what friends do." Transition from deep forest to the edge of civilization happened gradually, like waking from a dream. First came the thinning of trees, allowing more sunlight to pierce through the canopy. Then the sounds, distant music, the hum of voices, the crackle of loudspeakers. The smell of festival food drifted on the breeze, mixing with the earthy scent of the woods. Emma stirred in Officer Webb's arms, lifting her head from his shoulder to look around. The world felt different now, less scary. The officer's steady heartbeat beneath her ear and Rex's solid presence beside them created a bubble of safety that made everything else feel manageable. "We're almost there, Emma," Webb said softly. "Just a few more minutes and you'll see your mama." At the mention of her mother, Emma's eyes welled up with tears again. But these were different tears. Not the terrified sobs from before, but tears of relief, of longing, of wanting so badly to be held by the person who meant home and safety and love. "Will she really not be mad?" Emma asked, her voice wavering. "I promise you, sweetheart. The only thing your mama is feeling right now is happy, so incredibly happy." As they walked, Emma kept one hand firmly planted on Rex's head, her small fingers working through his fur in a repetitive, soothing motion. The dog adjusted his pace perfectly to match Webb's stride, never pulling ahead, never falling behind. His training had prepared him for many scenarios, but what was happening now transcended training. This was connection. This was trust being built with every step. "Officer Webb." Emma's voice was getting stronger, more like a normal 3-year-old and less like a traumatized child. "You can call me Marcus if you want." Marcus, Emma tried out the name, seeming to like how it felt in her mouth. How did Rex become a police dog? Was he always a police dog, even when he was a puppy? Webb smiled, grateful for the distraction of conversation. Talking would help Emma process what had happened, would ease her back into normalcy. Rex came from Germany when he was about a year old. He went through special training to learn how to find people who are lost and how to help police officers do their job safely. Is it hard, the training? Very hard. Rex had to be really smart and really brave. Not every dog can do what he does. Emma looked down at Rex with renewed wonder and admiration. "You're the smartest dog in the whole world," she told him seriously. Rex's tail wagged, and he glanced up at her with what Webb could only describe as affection. They navigated through a particularly dense patch of undergrowth, Webb moving carefully to protect Emma from branches that grabbed at them. Rex went ahead slightly, his body language alert, almost as if he was clearing the path, making sure it was safe for his new young friend. "Marcus," Emma said again. She seemed to like saying his name. "When I was lost, I was really, really scared. But when Rex came, I wasn't scared anymore. How did he do that?" Webb thought carefully about his answer. "I think Rex understood that you needed a friend right then. Dogs are amazing that way. They can tell when people are scared or sad or hurt, and they know how to help. Rex has a big heart, and I think he knew exactly what you needed." "I needed him," Emma said simply, "and he came." "He did. Do you think he'll remember me after today?" The question nearly broke Webb's heart. This little girl who'd been through such trauma was already worrying about being forgotten. "Emma, I can absolutely promise you that Rex will remember you. Dogs never forget people who matter to them. And you matter to Rex. Look at him, see how he keeps checking on you. That's because you're important to him now." As if to prove the point, Rex looked up at Emma right then, his dark eyes warm and intelligent. Emma giggled, the first real laugh Webb had heard from her, and reached down to stroke his ears. "I love you, Rex," she said with the unfiltered honesty of a child. "You're my hero." Webb's radio crackled. "K97, what's your location? We have everyone standing by." "About 200 yards from tree line exit, southeastern position. Emma is doing great. Alert her mother will be emerging shortly." "Copy that. Medical team standing by, but it sounds like we might not need them as urgently as we thought." Negative on urgent medical, just a mother who needs her daughter back. They were close now. Webb could see the tree line ending just ahead, could see the festival grounds beyond. A crowd had gathered. He could see the mass of people, the flash of cell phone cameras, the news crews that had somehow already arrived. His jaw tightened. The last thing Emma needed was a media circus. As if reading his thoughts, Rex moved even closer, his body providing a physical barrier between Emma and the outside world they were about to re-enter. "Emma, there are going to be a lot of people when we get out there," Webb warned her gently. "Lots of adults who are happy you're safe. It might be overwhelming. If you want, you can keep your face right here against my shoulder and Rex and I will get you straight to your mama. Okay." Emma nodded, already burying her face against his uniform. Her hand remained on Rex's head, though, maintaining that vital connection. They emerged from the woods into the golden late afternoon sunlight. The crowd erupted, cheering, clapping, crying. Webb raised a hand, trying to signal for quiet, for space. Security guards immediately formed a perimeter, pushing back the well-meaning but overwhelming surge of people. And then, cutting through the crowd like a force of nature, Sarah Rodriguez appeared. She'd been standing near the tree line for the past 20 minutes, held back by other officers, waiting with every fiber of her being focused on the woods, praying for this exact moment. When she saw Webb emerge with Emma in his arms, the world stopped spinning. "Emma," Sarah's voice was raw, primal. A mother's cry of relief and joy and anguish all wrapped together. Emma's head snapped up from Webb's shoulder. "Mama!" Webb had barely stopped walking before Sarah reached them. She was sobbing, big, gulping sobs that shook her whole body as she reached for her daughter. Webb carefully transferred Emma into her mother's arms, and the reunion was everything he'd hoped it would be. Sarah dropped to her knees right there in the grass, clutching Emma to her chest, rocking back and forth, checking her over with frantic hands while tears poured down her face. "Baby, oh my baby, my sweet baby girl, I'm so sorry, Mama's here now, Mama's here." "I got lost, Mama," Emma said, crying now too, her small arms wrapped tight around her mother's neck. "I followed a butterfly and I got so lost and I was so scared." "I know, baby, I know, but you're safe now, you're safe." Sarah couldn't finish sentences, could barely speak through her tears. She just held her daughter and cried and thanked God and fate and everything holy that her child was alive. Emma pulled back slightly, wiping at her mother's tears with her small hands. "Mama, don't cry. Rex saved me. The police dog, he found me and he made me not scared anymore." Sarah looked up through her tears, and for the first time she really saw Officer Webb standing there and Rex sitting calmly beside him. The German Shepherd was watching Emma, his tail wagging slowly, his expression gentle. Something broke open in Sarah's chest. This dog, this beautiful, incredible animal, had found her daughter when she'd thought all hope was lost, had tracked her through the woods, had kept her safe. Still on her knees, still holding Emma with one arm, Sarah reached toward Rex with her other hand. Is it okay to?" "Yes," Webb said softly, "it's more than okay." Sarah wrapped her free arm around Rex's neck, pressing her face into his fur, her tears soaking into his coat. "Thank you," she whispered brokenly. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. You brought my baby back to me, thank you." Rex remained perfectly still, accepting the gratitude with the same gentle dignity he'd shown Emma in the woods. His tail continued its steady wag. The crowd around them had fallen silent, watching this moment, a mother, her child, and the hero who'd reunited them. Cell phone cameras captured it all, but nobody was thinking about that. They were thinking about miracles, about second chances, about the extraordinary bond between humans and the animals who serve beside them. Emma reached out from her mother's arms to pet Rex one more time. "See, Mama, he's my friend. He's the best friend ever." Sarah nodded, unable to speak, just holding her daughter and touching the dog who'd saved her, overwhelmed by gratitude too huge for words. The paramedics arrived within minutes, gently insisting that Emma be checked over despite Sarah's reluctance to let her daughter out of her arms even for a second. They compromised. Sarah sat on the back bumper of the ambulance with Emma in her lap, while a kind-faced EMT named Patricia examined the little girl. "You're a very lucky young lady," Patricia said as she cleaned the scratches on Emma's arms with antiseptic wipes. "These are all superficial, nothing that won't heal up in a few days." Emma barely noticed the sting of the antiseptic. Her eyes were locked on Rex, who sat about 10 feet away with Officer Webb, waiting patiently. The German Shepherd hadn't taken his eyes off her either, as if he was still on duty, still making sure his assignment was safe. "Can Rex come closer?" Emma asked. "I want him to see that I'm okay." Patricia smiled at Webb, who nodded and brought Rex over. The dog approached calmly, and Emma immediately reached out to touch his head again, needing that contact, that reassurance that he was real, that this had all really happened. "You know," Patricia said as she applied bandages to the worst of the scratches, "I've been a paramedic for 15 years, and I've seen a lot of search and rescue operations. But I've never seen a bond form this quickly between a K9 and a victim. This is special." "He's not just any dog," Emma said with absolute conviction. "He's magic." Sarah, who hadn't stopped touching Emma, stroking her hair, holding her hand, keeping one arm wrapped around her waist, looked up at Officer Webb with eyes still red from crying. "How can I ever thank you, both of you? You saved my daughter's life." Webb shifted uncomfortably. He'd never been good at accepting gratitude. "Ma'am, this is what we're trained for. This is our job." "No," Sarah's voice was firm despite its shakiness. "This is more than a job. You found her in 15 minutes. 15 minutes in 15 square miles of forest. Do you understand what that means? Do you understand that you gave me back my entire world?" Webb's throat tightened. He glanced down at Rex, who was now leaning against Emma's legs as the paramedic finished her examination. "Rex did the real work. I just followed him." "Then I'm grateful to both of you." Sarah stood, lifting Emma with her despite the paramedic's assurance that Emma could walk. She wasn't ready to put her daughter down yet. Maybe wouldn't be ready for hours or days. She walked over to Webb and Rex, Emma still in her arms. "I need to know your names. Both of your names, please." "Officer Marcus Webb, and this is Rex, badge number K97. "Marcus Webb and Rex," Sarah repeated, as if committing them to permanent memory. "I will never forget those names as long as I live." Behind them, the crowd had grown. Word of the successful rescue had spread throughout the festival, and people were gathering at a respectful distance, watching, taking photos, recording videos. Several news crews had set up, their cameras pointed at the reunion scene. A reporter managed to slip past security, microphone extended. "Excuse me, Officer Webb, Channel 7 News. Can we get a statement about the rescue?" Webb's expression hardened. "Not right now, this family needs privacy." But the reporter persisted, turning to Sarah. "Ma'am, can you tell us what happened? How does it feel to have your daughter back?" Sarah opened her mouth, then closed it, overwhelmed. How could she possibly put this into words? How could she explain the terror, the desperation, the soul-crushing fear, and then the miraculous joy of this moment? Emma, however, had no such hesitation. She looked directly at the camera with the fearless honesty of a 3-year-old. "I got lost and I was really scared. But then Rex found me. He's a police dog and he's magic and he's my best friend now." The reporter's professional demeanor cracked, revealing genuine emotion. "That's beautiful, sweetheart. You're very brave." "Rex is braver," Emma said simply. "He's a hero." The reporter turned back to Webb. "Officer, can you walk us through how the search unfolded?" Webb glanced at Sarah, who nodded. She understood that this story would get out anyway, and maybe it was better to control the narrative now. He gave a brief, professional account of the search, careful to emphasize Rex's training and capabilities while downplaying his own role. But the cameras weren't interested in the technical details. They were focused on the image that would grace front pages and news broadcasts for the next week. A little girl reaching down from her mother's arms to pet a German Shepherd police dog, all three of them bathed in the golden light of late afternoon, the embodiment of hope and rescue and redemption. By the time Sarah finally insisted on taking Emma home, after declining the hospital visit the paramedics had suggested, after giving her contact information to the police for their report, after promising Emma multiple times that yes, she could see Rex again, the story was already going viral. A bystander's cell phone video of Emma hugging Rex in the grass, Sarah crying as she held both her daughter and the dog who'd saved her, was spreading across social media at lightning speed. "Police dog SAVES lost 3-year-old," read the headlines. "Miracle reunion AT Portland Festival." But Sarah and Emma didn't know about any of that yet. They were in Sarah's car, Emma buckled into her car seat, finally headed home. Emma was exhausted, her voice hoarse, her scratched legs painful now that the adrenaline had worn off. But she was alive. She was safe. She was going home. "Mama," Emma said as Sarah drove, checking the rearview mirror every few seconds to make sure her daughter was really there. "Can we go see Rex tomorrow?" Sarah's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Baby, Rex is a working police dog. He has important jobs to do. I don't know if. But he's my friend, and friends visit each other." Emma's logic was unassailable in her 3-year-old mind. "We'll see, sweetheart. Let's just get you home and into a nice warm bath and into clean pajamas. Okay." But even as she said it, Sarah knew she would find a way. She would move heaven and earth if necessary to let Emma see that dog again. Rex had saved her daughter's life. The least she could do was arrange a visit. That evening, after Emma was bathed and fed and tucked into bed, with Sarah sitting right beside her, unable to leave her side, Sarah's phone began buzzing with notifications. Friends had seen the news coverage. Family members were calling. Her Facebook was exploding with messages and tags. She opened one of the videos someone had sent, watching with tears streaming down her face as the news anchor narrated the story. A 4th of July celebration turned into every parent's nightmare today when 3-year-old Emma Rodriguez disappeared into the woods at Riverside Park. But thanks to the quick action of Officer Marcus Webb and his K-9 partner Rex, the story has a happy ending. Here's the dramatic footage. Sarah watched herself on screen, saw the raw emotion on her face, saw her daughter's tiny arms around the German Shepherd's neck. She saw the moment that had already been immortalized on dozens of news channels and social media platforms. The moment everything changed from nightmare back to miracle. The news anchor concluded, "Portland police report that this is the 4th successful child rescue for K-9 Rex this year." Officer Webb stated that Rex's training and natural instincts made him the perfect candidate for this critical search. Young Emma Rodriguez told reporters that Rex is now her best friend, and we have a feeling this is one friendship that's going to last a lifetime. Sarah closed the video and looked in on Emma, who was sleeping fitfully, her hand clutching her butterfly-covered blanket. Even in sleep, Emma's other hand was shaped as if she was still petting Rex's fur. Sarah's phone buzzed again. This time it was an email from the Portland Police Department's Public Affairs Office. They'd received hundreds of calls about the rescue, people wanting to donate to the K-9 unit, people asking about Rex, news outlets requesting interviews, and a personal message from the police chief, thanking her for sharing their story and asking if she'd be comfortable with a formal commendation ceremony for Officer Webb and Rex. Sarah typed a response immediately. "We would be honored. Rex saved my daughter's life. He deserves every recognition possible. Please let us know how we can help." She hit send and then sat in the darkness of Emma's room, listening to her daughter breathe, thanking whatever forces in the universe had guided that police dog to her baby girl. Downstairs, Sarah's phone continued to buzz with messages, interview requests, and notifications. The story was spreading far beyond Portland now, touching hearts across the country. People loved stories of rescue, of hope, of the incredible bond between humans and dogs. But upstairs, in a small pink bedroom decorated with butterfly stickers, all that mattered was that a mother had her daughter back, and that daughter was dreaming of a German Shepherd with gentle brown eyes and a heart big enough to save lost little girls. 3 months had passed since that terrifying 4th of July afternoon, but for Sarah Rodriguez, it felt both like yesterday and a lifetime ago. The scratches on Emma's arms and legs had healed without scars. The torn pink sundress had been washed and carefully folded away in a memory box. The story had eventually faded from the news cycle, replaced by other headlines, other dramas. But some things had changed forever. Every night before bed, Emma insisted on the same routine, prayers that always included "thank you for Rex," and a goodnight kiss to the framed photograph that now sat on her nightstand. The photo, taken by a festival attendee and sent to Sarah by the Portland Police Department, showed Emma with her arms around Rex's neck, both of them looking at the camera. It had become Emma's most treasured possession. "Mama, is today Rex Day?" Emma asked every single morning at breakfast, her brown eyes hopeful. And once a month the answer was yes. Today was one of those days. Sarah pulled into the parking lot of the Portland Police K-9 training facility at exactly 10 a.m., as scheduled. Emma was already unbuckling herself from her car seat before Sarah had even turned off the engine, bouncing with excitement that had been building since she'd woken up that morning. "Remember our rules," Sarah said gently, helping Emma out of the car. "We walk, we don't run, we use indoor voices, and we always wait for Officer Webb's permission before we approach Rex." "I know, Mama," Emma said, though her little legs were already moving as fast as they could toward the building entrance. "But Rex knows me now. We're best friends." The automatic doors slid open, and Emma's excited squeal echoed through the lobby. Officer Marcus Webb was waiting there with Rex at his side, and the German shepherd's tail began wagging the moment he saw the little girl. "Rex," Emma cried, and this time Sarah let her run. Webb had already given Rex a subtle hand signal, releasing him from his formal working posture. The dog moved forward to meet Emma, his movements gentle despite his size. Emma threw her arms around his neck exactly as she had that day in the forest, and Rex accepted the embrace with patient grace, his tail creating a small windstorm behind him. "He missed you," Webb said, smiling at Sarah as she approached. "Every time a little girl with brown curly hair walks past our patrol area, his ears perk up." Sarah's eyes misted. They still did that easily when it came to Rex, and that day. She talks about him constantly. She draws pictures of him at preschool. Her teacher says half her vocabulary words are related to police dogs now. "I brought him something," Emma announced, pulling a carefully folded piece of paper from her jacket pocket. She unfolded it to reveal a crayon drawing of a girl and a dog standing under a bright sun, surrounded by butterflies. In a 3-year-old's unsteady handwriting, it read, "Rex My Hero." Webb's throat tightened as he accepted the drawing. "This is incredible, Emma. This is definitely going on the wall in my office, right next to all the others." "Really, next to all of them?" Emma's face lit up with pride. "Really? Come on, I'll show you." They walked through the facility, Rex staying close to Emma's side as Webb led them to his office. The wall behind his desk had been transformed into a gallery of Emma's artwork, at least a dozen drawings of Rex, done in crayon, marker, paint, and even glitter glue. Each one captured a moment. Rex finding her in the forest, Rex with his police badge, Rex with hearts and stars around him, Rex labeled as the best dog. "Wow," Emma breathed, seeing them all displayed together. "It's like a museum." "It is like a museum," Webb agreed. "The Rex and Emma Museum. My fellow officers all know about it. Some of them come by just to see the new additions." Sarah watched her daughter's face glow with happiness and felt a wave of gratitude so powerful it nearly knocked her over. This man, this officer who'd saved her daughter, had continued to give Emma something precious beyond that day. He'd given her dignity, friendship, and a connection that was helping her heal from the trauma. Because there had been trauma. Emma had nightmares for the first month, waking up crying about being lost, about the dark woods. But Sarah had noticed that after every visit with Rex, the nightmares lessened. The dog had become Emma's touchstone, her proof that scary things could have happy endings, that when you're lost, someone will find you. "Can we go outside?" Emma asked hopefully. "Can I throw the ball for Rex?" "Actually," Webb said, glancing at Sarah with a smile, "today's a special day. Emma, how would you like to see Rex do some of his police work?" Emma's eyes went wide. "Really? Like real police work?" "Well, a demonstration. We're doing a training exercise today and I thought you might like to watch. Would that be okay, Mom?" Sarah nodded, and they headed outside to the training grounds where several other K-9 officers were gathered with their dogs. Emma held Sarah's hand but leaned forward eagerly as Webb explained what would happen. "We're going to do a search and rescue exercise," Webb told Emma. "One of our officers is going to hide and Rex is going to find them, just like he found you." Emma watched, riveted, as the exercise unfolded. Rex transformed from the gentle friend she knew into a focused, powerful working dog. His nose went down, his body language changed, and he tracked the victim through a series of obstacles with impressive speed and accuracy. When he found the hidden officer and barked his alert, Emma clapped so hard her hands turned red. "That's how he found you," Webb said, kneeling beside Emma. "He used his super nose and his training, and he didn't stop until you were safe." "He's the bravest dog in the whole world," Emma declared. After the demonstration, they had a picnic lunch in the facility's courtyard, something that had become their monthly tradition. Emma shared her peanut butter and jelly sandwich with Rex, the small pieces Webb approved, told him stories about preschool, and showed him a new dance she'd learned. Other officers stopped by to say hello, many of them having heard Emma's story. Emma soaked up the attention but always redirected it back to Rex. "He's the real hero," she'd say seriously. "I was just the girl who got lost." As the visit drew to a close, Sarah pulled Webb aside while Emma played with Rex on the grass. "Marcus, I need to tell you something," Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. "The city announced this morning that they're fully funding the K-9 unit's expansion. The mayor cited Emma's rescue as a pivotal moment in gaining public support. Because of what happened, because of what you and Rex did, there are going to be 5 more K-9 teams. 5 more teams that can save other children." Webb was quiet for a moment, watching Rex gently play tug-of-war with Emma, letting the little girl win. "That's incredible. It's your legacy, both of you. You didn't just save one little girl, you've potentially saved dozens more." "We were just doing our job," Webb said, but his eyes were bright. "No," Sarah said firmly. "You did something extraordinary, and I will spend the rest of my life making sure people know that." When it was time to leave, Emma's goodbye to Rex had become its own ritual. She hugged him tight, whispered secrets into his ear that only he could hear, and told him she loved him. Rex, for his part, remained patient and gentle, his tail wagging, occasionally licking her cheek. "See you next month," Emma asked Webb as she did every time. "See you next month," he confirmed, as he did every time. In the car, Emma was quiet for the first few minutes, clutching the Rex stuffed animal that Webb had given her during their second visit. Then she spoke up from the backseat. "Mama, when I grow up, I want to help people like Rex does." Sarah glanced in the rearview mirror, seeing her daughter's serious expression. "That's a beautiful goal, baby. Maybe I can be a police officer, or a doctor, or someone who finds people who are lost." Emma paused, thinking. "There are lots of people who get lost, aren't there?" "There are," Sarah admitted. "Then that's what I'll do. I'll help find them, because I know how scary it is to be lost, and I know how good it feels when someone finds you." Sarah had to pull over for a moment because her tears were making it hard to see the road. Her 3-year-old daughter, her baby who'd been lost and terrified in the woods just 3 months ago, was already thinking about how to help others. That was Rex's gift. Not just the rescue itself, but the lesson that came with it, that in our darkest moments help can appear, that bravery comes in many forms, that connection and compassion can bridge any divide, even between species. That evening, after Emma was asleep, Sarah opened her laptop and navigated to the fundraising page she'd created for the Portland Police K-9 unit. The goal had been $10,000. They'd raised over $150,000, with donations still coming in from people across the country who'd been touched by Emma's story. She typed an update. "Emma had another wonderful visit with Rex today. She told me she wants to spend her life helping others, the way Rex helped her. I can't think of a better legacy for that terrifying day than a little girl who learned that heroes are real, that hope matters, and that love, even between a child and a police dog, can change everything. Thank you, Marcus Webb. Thank you, Rex. And thank you to everyone supporting these incredible K-9 teams. You're helping create more miracles." She hit post and then opened the photo album on her phone, scrolling through the pictures from today's visit. Emma and Rex in the sunshine. Emma's face lit up with joy. Rex's gentle expression as he watched over his small friend. Some people meet for a reason. Some connections transcend explanation. On a July afternoon, a 3-year-old girl had looked at a police dog, and seconds later, their lives had become forever intertwined. It wasn't just a rescue story. It was a love story, a friendship story, a story about the incredible capacity of both humans and animals to care for each other across every boundary. And it was far from over. This was just the beginning of a bond that would last a lifetime, a bond forged in fear and sealed in love, between a little girl who'd been lost and the hero who'd found her. The end